Are you ready to be inspired and encouraged? We welcome you to a Victorious Spotlight, hosted by Pastor Tony Smith and Victorious Ministries International. Join in as we dive into real-life conversations of triumph and victory and discover how God is working through everyday people like you and me. Don't miss out on this uplifting and faith-filled show. So grab your loved ones and tune in as we experience the power of God's love in action. Let's get into the broadcast.
Hello and welcome to another special segment on today. I'm Shakira Sutton. This segment is hosted by Pastor Tony Smith and Victorious Ministries. Hello to the ladies to my left and hello to the ladies to my right. Okay, so we have another good show lined up for you today. Of course, our topic is growing up in church and now making a personal relationship with God, but we're going to get into like the depth of relationships and leadership and things like that, and how we can continue to be a vessel to outside people and not just in. Because a lot of people have said, like, you know, they don't go to church because of this reason and that reason. And I really honestly feel like a lot of people don't come to church because of relationships. And relationships with people in church and not the relationship with God. So I really feel like people come to church for the wrong reason. And so we're going to get into that. So the first question I'm going to ask is, like, in church, how do you navigate conflicts or challenges within your church community? Because oftentimes they say, you know, we're the generation that takes stuff we take it so critical and we take it so hard and things like that. And I want to ask y'all, how do you navigate a conflict in church? I'm going to start with Mira first. I'm going to start with Mira and ask her that question.
If I'm being 100% honest, I don't think I've had like a whole lot of issues in church where like I felt, where I was like, where I got to the point where like people say we would take it to heart, or I was like so deeply offended by it. But in the event that something like that may have happened, or maybe it just happened, but it takes a lot to like kind of get to me. That's just me as a person. But I feel like in situations like that, like discernment comes into play, because sometimes it's a matter of, you know, I don't really know, like it, like the heart, like where it's coming from, and how like sometimes, even though it's not an excuse, if somebody says something to you and it has offended you and they be like, well, I didn't mean it like that, but you didn't mean it like that, but it still offended me. So I feel like sometimes it comes with a level of maturity to be like, even though they didn't mean it that way, you know, I'm not gonna hang it over your head or whatever. And then I feel like in some situations, going to like someone in the church that you know that you can trust and that you know that you can talk to, and not necessarily saying going to them and like bashing whoever hurt you, just being like, this is how I'm feeling, because sometimes we want to react immediately. So sometimes going to a trusted adult or leader in the ministry and just being like, this is how I feel, tell me what to do, because in that moment they are wiser than you. And so it's like, tell me, how do I deal with this without, you know, holding it against them or letting it get to me to a point where I feel like I don't want to be here no more, or I feel like I don't want to do my due diligence in the service to God, and things of that nature.
Candace, what do you think?
I would say I agree with Mira. To use your discernment, I would say not to nurse your offense. When you are easily offended, or when you are just offended in general, like those are your feelings. So, you know, it hurts, okay? But the Bible also tells us when you have an alt with your brother, you go to them. So that doesn't mean to have a conflict, not address it, or address it to everyone else, but you have to go to them first. And then it tells you to come back with someone. So once you try the conversation, I think you should know who the person is, know the type of person, know their heart, so you can know how you should approach the situation. Some people, you can't come to them. If Jayla offends me, I can go to Jayla and say, okay, and if it's someone else, I may need a third party to be present. So you just have to be mindful. You have to use discernment and what was said, because sometimes people have the right intention but the wrong approach. And you also have to use discernment when you are handling the situation as well, so you don't react out of offense or out of anger, because even though your feelings are hurt, your reaction could still be wrong.
Jayla?
I have to agree with what they both said. Like, I really don't have anything to add extra because I don't think I've had a lot of conflicts within the church. Or conflicts that I felt like I couldn't handle. So I guess in those conflicts, I always knew how to navigate, or I knew how to take the more mature route in things, because sometimes it's best to just be silent. And I think a lot of times that's where sometimes conflict can come into play, because sometimes people talk too much. Yeah.
Okay, so the next question I'm going to ask is, how did your relationships with other young adults in the church impact your growth and development? Bree Rose, I'm going to ask you that question. Like, how do you think, like, your relationships with the people here, like, that you are connected to, how do you think that keep you involved and help you, like, stay on the narrow, like, path?
Hello. Okay, for one, I'm gonna say Monique does not let me forget anything. She will be like, "Are you coming?" She will be like, "Are you coming to this event? You doing this? Why are you doing that? Why wasn't you here? Oh, okay, well, that was supposed to be a sacrifice you made for God, and you ain't do it, so you need to go pray." And I'm just like, okay. So she's always on my head about stuff. It's funny, but like it really does help. It does. Sometimes if it's something that, like, maybe she said, she'll never say it in an offensive way, but sometimes she'll say something that I may not agree with, I will always take it to God. And that's just how I feel like we kind of all should do, going back to the offense thing. Like, just always take it back to God, no matter what it is, because, like you said, we could be saying things with the best intentions, but you never really know. So I really am happy to have somebody like Monique in my corner to always hold me accountable for things that I need to do. And it's just always good, because it's like you're never by yourself, you know. So.
Summer?
Yes, I agree. As Bree Rose was talking, she just said it, accountability. We hold each other accountable a lot. I'm pointing to these three specifically because we grew up very tight-knit together. So when we see one another falling short, it's just like, oh, okay, I see you, girl. Let me help pick you up. What do you need? Words of encouragement? Do you need just to spend some quality time? Like, what do you need in that moment to strengthen you, to get you back on the right path? Because we're human and fleshly sometimes, and sometimes you need to be brought back on the right path. So I think it's always important to surround yourself with people who are like-minded, so that you never stray too far. Because I know that they'll always bring me back.
Chris Gray, what about you? Because, you know, this not really an age bracket, but I know, like, some people in, you know, the church can uplift. Not saying they don't. I don't want y'all to take it wrong, because y'all look like, what? I'm not saying y'all don't, but I'm just saying, like, because it might come different if it's, like, coming from your sister versus your peers. Because I'm like, you like, she probably just saying that 'cause she want to get on my nerves today. But I'm just saying, like, and the people in the church, like, you have friends that, you know, kind of keep you together and you keep together in church.
Yes. Yes. For me, I just feel like I agree with Summer, like, to surround yourself with like-minded people. And the thing is, it's like, I feel like you come into church on Sunday and you see the same people every Sunday, and it's like you're connected then, but I feel like it's important to, like, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, to have those same people, or a different group of people that keep you connected even though you're not in the church building, because it's life be life and through the weekdays, and on Saturday night you got to make sure you're not doing nothing crazy. So you got your group of friends and be like, oh, what we doing on Saturday night? Oh, we going to prayer? What we doing on Friday night? What we going to pray? It's like to keep you, just pull you in. This is like, you want to have that, like, that voice reminding you, because in the world you got a lot of voices that want you to do a lot of things, but when you have that group of people that keep you connected, it's just like then you have another voice that's pulling you into God. So I think that's important.
Okay, so what about like people who don't have, like, anybody in church that they can go to? Like, what if it's somebody who, like, they may look a little standoffish, But it's like, how do you come to that person like where as though they might receive it? Like, how do you handle a person like that where it's looking like you want to go say something to them because like maybe you notice like they slacking off, but it's like, how do you approach that person? Because it's just like, are they gonna receive what I'm saying? Like, you get what I'm saying? Because like oftentimes it's like, even with me, like sometimes I might see somebody and I'm like, dang, I didn't see such and such in such a long time. But because I haven't built a relationship with them, it's like, how do you approach somebody like that? Because it's just like, I don't never want nobody to be offended by me saying, hey, you know, I didn't see you in church. And they just like, well, what you need to see me in church? Like, you get what I'm saying? I don't never want nobody to think I'm just saying like, I haven't seen you, but I'm just saying like, you know, I see you worshiping, I see you doing this, I see you doing that, and then you miss a couple Sundays. I never want nobody to feel like their presence isn't wanted here or that somebody don't care about them being here. So what do you do when you see somebody and then you don't see them no more, but you never built a connection with them? Anybody can chime in.
That's where I think the spirit of discernment is most important. You have to be led by the spirit and not led by you. Because like you said, you in your mind, you're like, dang, I ain't seen them in a month of Sundays. Where they been at? You don't know what they've been going through. That's why it's important to be in tune with God, because he'll tell you the right things to say. Sometimes you might not have to say anything at all. Sometimes they just need a hug, or they just want you to sit next to them. They just need a kindred spirit next to them. So it's just very important to have discernment, and that comes with having relationship with him.
That's good, because oftentimes we need a Paul and a Silas. You know, Jesus needed the disciples, so we need people to be around us and keep us uprooted and on the right track. So let's get into the next question. Coming up and like being young adults now, did you all feel supported and encouraged by church leaders and mentors coming up? Like, did you feel like they, you know, helped you with your faith and stuff along the way? And if so, how did they influence like your progression as an adult now? And I feel like it's a lot of us. So I feel like all of us can kind of answer that question, because everybody might have a different answer and a different perspective. So I'm going to start with Monique, and then we can go across.
Okay. My answer is yes. I think I did have youth leaders that were doing their best to be as in tune as possible, doing their best to try to reach us at whatever level we were then. And of course, you should hopefully have at least one that may stand out of the bunch, or one that you have the more intimate connection with. So I feel like I had more than one, but I've had people that really poured into me then. And so now that I am a den leader, I am over youth, and I help teach and train the youth, I think that a lot of things that were instilled in me, I am able to give back now. And in some areas, I am leaders with the people who led me. So it's like in the area where I may have confusion or where I may have questions, I have someone right at my shoulder who has been my guidance the whole time, and it makes me feel comfortable to ask for help in this area. And it also makes it easy for me to take correction and criticism, versus if we just all get put as leaders together over something, and then someone is saying, you're not doing that right, blah, blah. It's like, how you know? Because we just all doing this together. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I've been in the training grounds with people who have stuck it out with me in church and out of church, you know, really poured into me. And now it's like, okay, now that I am a part of the training team for other youth, I still have those people to pull on. I still have those people to say, okay, next time you could do this a little better, or still are training me to be a solid and independent leader and not need a whole team, if that makes sense. So I would say overall, yes, I had a great panel of youth leaders that helped to impart in us, and I had some great individuals who stuck it out with me in the long run, like in and out of church, and still help pour into me as I pour into the youth, and help me to not feel drained by being the one that's pouring out, because they are still pouring into me.
Jayla? For me, it was a little bit different. When I was younger, I think I had a lot more what you would call mentors, or a lot more women leaders. But then as they took their own journey, they kind of left me in the process. And I think that ultimately, like, it kind of made me feel lonely. Although, like, I know now, like, I was never alone. I think that during their own journey, like, them not leaving me, but more so leaving the church, it left, like, my growing process. And I think that now I can use my discernment more on, you know, and I've built relationships now where I know who I can come to, I know who I can go to, you know, when I'm struggling with whatever and I need the word and I need, you know, a woman's touch outside of, you know, my mother or my family member. You get what I'm saying? So,
Bree Rose.
I'm gonna be so real. I'm gonna say yes and no, but the no is it's my fault because I know I gotta work on it, but I don't be wanting to ask for help. Like I'm just like, I don't want you to know what I'm doing. You know, it's just, and I know I have to work on it. I know, but the couple of times where I have actually like spoke to someone, like I spoke to Minister Bree, I spoke to Deaconess Kelly, really good people that have helped me when I did go to them and say, you know, like I'm going through this, and they definitely were there to help me. But if you ask them, like, I haven't heard from Bree in a while, I'm like, yeah, I know, it's because I just want to be up by myself. So, you know, that's just, I know I have to work on it because that's what everyone is here for, is to like to help push each other and grow and stuff. But I guess that's just something I gotta get used to.
Tori.
I feel like they've helped me a lot. I've had like many different journeys, so I got to a space where like when I was younger, I was looking, it was really good for me because I don't have like a big sister. We're like, I have an older sister, but we're close in age. So it was good to have people with a different perspective teaching me. But when I got to like my teenage years and I started going through, I felt like I was going through like real life stuff that a lot of people around me at my age wasn't going through. It kind of made me a little bit like, I don't want no help from nobody. I'm just going to figure it out. I don't even want to talk about my problems. So I kind of like, from like maybe 10th grade, probably up until COVID, I just kind of like pushed back from our leaders. But what I respect and what I love is that they never stopped trying to reach out. If I wasn't smiling, they just gave me a hug, even if they knew I didn't want to talk. So it's stuff like that that stuck with me, and that really does help me with being a den leader now. Like Mo was saying, leading with them, alongside them. I love that the things that they taught me, I'll never forget, and to also to never be so caught up in a title that you miss things. Because there's a lot of kids here that may be going through things that you may not know about, but like Summer said, using discernment, I think that's very important, and I would have never understood those things if it wasn't done for me. To not, just because somebody is quiet don't mean everything's okay. Just because someone's smiling doesn't mean everything's okay. So just to make sure that we're in their lives, and to just be always mindful that the youth go through things too. So I'm happy that we had den leaders that understood, like, you know, I'm not your peer, okay? I'm an adult, but I'm not too far off where I don't remember when I went through this moment, if that makes sense. So I really love that. And they were very humble, and that made it easier for me to come back and be like, you know what? I wish I did reach out on you more. So yeah, I appreciate them.
Candace.
I would say yes, I did. However, I don't think that I really built a relationship in the times where I needed it. I more so cling to my sisters because I have older siblings, I have god sisters, like, you know. I more so would cling to them to get answers, to get help, because I'm not the baby sister, but I am the baby sister. So whereas I may not have wanted to come and talk to a leader here. My sisters were, in some cases, in some areas of my life, in some situations, my leader. And now that I'm a little older, not that old, but I'm old enough, I do think that I'm building my own relationship with certain leaders and stuff like that. Not that they weren't always present, I just didn't use my access to them. So,
Mira.
Kind of same thing like Bree Rose was saying, yes and no. Yes, because I know that the help was readily available for me if I needed it. No, because I just don't say anything. I don't ask for help. I'm very I tend to be very to myself and very quiet and laid back. And so even amongst my friend group, I don't ask for help when I need it, or I don't speak up when I need it. And so but what I love about the leaders here is that even if I didn't know that I needed it at the time, the words of them using their own discernment, the words of encouragement and the pouring into me has helped me and reassured me to know that, okay, it is this is a judgment-free zone. So if I really, really do need the help, I can come. I just gotta open my mouth and say something.
Chris Gray.
I would say for me, I feel like I didn't really have a church mentor, somebody that I looked up to and that guided me. And obviously it's not because they weren't there, but I think for me it just didn't. I just feel like when it comes to people, I'm still working on it, but it's just like how could they help me? This is my issue. This is what I'm going through, and I assume that because it's not them, I have a whole special thing going on. No, it's not special, but I just always think I just have to figure it out. And part of it was because it's I feel like I feel like I wasn't drawn to certain people, or just and also I just hate being that person that's always nagging. I don't like to be an intrusion on people's lives, because I don't want nobody to call me, ask me all these questions about their life, because what you want from me? But it's I think that's just because I'm the one that needs help. I'm not always the person that can help myself sometimes. So that's something that I'm working on. But also in the times where I needed help and the times that gaps needed to be filled, I feel like my mother was there when I didn't have that help that I could have had. So my mother is just she knows me best. She can help me the best. So when you don't have anybody, just hold on to your family because they know you best. So.
Summer.
So I'm gonna say yes and no. No, because, and let me preface this by saying that even though I didn't always feel supported in certain areas, whether that have been church leaders or mentors in ministry. Sometimes I had 2 different mentors. So I had one that was more ministry based, and then I had one which was more just general life based. I think it's important to always know that everybody is going through their own journey in life and in Christ. So I think even though the times that I felt not supported, now that I have gotten older and more mature, I understand that it wasn't personal, that at certain points I didn't feel supported. It wasn't they had an issue with me. It's just they got their own thing going on sometimes, and it's nothing towards me. But then I am grateful for the people who have supported me, and I didn't even know that they were kind of my support system. It's people like Miss Jarvine, who always knows. I swear, we do not talk every day, but I don't know, she's really in tune with God. Thank God for her. But she'll send me a text, and it just be a prayer or just a words of encouragement that I really needed for that week. And I'm grateful for people like her. And it's not just her, but it's other people in the ministry that I'm grateful where they were able to pick me up when I felt like I was drowning. I'm grateful for those people, and they not just family. Some of them are actual complete strangers, but they've been watching me since I was a child because I've been here that long. They know, well, they see, certain things as you're growing up, and I'm just grateful to have those people in my support system.
That's good. And a big shout out to Miss Jarvine, because we love her down. But on a serious note, that is good that, you know, some of you guys had the experience to have somebody in your life. And, you know, with me, you know, kind of mine was a little different because I felt like kind of sort of the leaders we had, they were growing as like I was growing. So like I really didn't have that type of experience. But it was like, if I didn't have Pastor, like he kind of like told me like, you need to stop doing this, you need to stop, like, you get what I'm saying? So it's just like, he kind of saw in me what I didn't see in myself and put those people in place. And like, if I didn't have my mother, where it's like, the stuff I thought she didn't know, she knew. And it was just like, you get what I'm saying? So it's just like, if I didn't have my mother and like those people around me to know like what to do and what not to do, you know, I probably would have went astray or tried to make my own decisions, in that case may be. So this is the last question because we only got 3 minutes left. The last question is like, can you share a specific challenge or obstacle you faced in your journey of faith that like strengthened your commitment to serving ministry as an adult? I think I'm gonna start with Monique.
Okay, I'll give an overall, you know, I really struggle with being abandoned or being neglected. And so I feel like I've had obstacles and I've had issues and things where people who I thought would be here forever are not here now for whatever reason. And some of it, even if it was not about me, became about me because they left me in the process of leaving other things or leaving the church or things like that. And I feel like having people that I looked up to or people that were supposed to be my family or I called family or I trusted and confided in not show up for me or put me to the side because of how other people treated them, it affected like my self-esteem when I was younger and things like that. And so I'm really a love hard kind of girl. Like I'm all in or nothing. It's really black and white with me for the most part. And so I feel like with that being my struggle, I really like take deeply to being in ministry because I feel like that's the time where I have God. Like God is always consistent. God is forever in my life. And so I do not play about being in ministry, in my assignment, being at church. Like it's not a hobby. It's not a routine. It's a lifestyle for me. And so I think that the abandonment and the neglect kind of fed into that and made ministry so much more real and necessary for me. And even like when I was in college, it really made it like, I gotta go to church. Like I'm in a different time zone, 3 hours behind, up early, streaming church because I need that connection. Like it literally fuels me. So yeah.
Jayla?
So for me, I think my issue has been feeling lonely and not wanting to be alone. And so in that, I think a lot of my decision making came from that. But ultimately, how it's helped my faith is because, like, although I felt alone, although I felt like I was lonely, I was never really alone because at the end of the day, Jesus is always there. God is always there. So he formed you before he knew you. So at the end of the day, I know, like, I can still come to him. I can still have that relationship with him. I can still, you know, he's my first love. He's my first friend. So, yeah.
Candace?
I would say mine was not feeling like I fit in. Like, I've always been an outcast in school. And just in life in general, everyone says I have an old soul. I'm a grandma, you know, so I've always been like just a different little girl. I'm just a girl. But I think that now that has helped my ministry because as a leader, I think I'm able to help those who are younger than me understand that because you don't fit in doesn't mean you don't have worth. And not to look for the worth out in the world, but here is where, and not necessarily here, you may not always feel you fit in, but here is safe for you. You will always have a place here. here will always be your home, and even if you don't go to this church but you watch, have a church home so that you can always have a place where you fit. But I really think that helps my ministry, but that also helps me because I can just feel for those people. Like, I understand. It's frustrating because it's like, I can't even do this. Like, it just don't even feel right. What am I doing here? Why I'm here? Like, and I understand, but those things can also lead to identity crisis and things like that. So you really want to catch it early. If you're a parent, look out for your child. Allow your child to understand, they aren't by themselves. They have worth, even if it's not out in the world. So, yeah.
Well, I just want to say to everybody on this panel, I definitely appreciate you all like being a great example for the youth, and I believe that you guys are doing an amazing job, especially when Pastor has a lot of leadership in his congregation and he continues to pour on his young people and present y'all to, really bask in y'all gifts, because, a lot of times when you may feel like it's not in you, like he's showing you that you guys are really making a difference and really bringing a different aspect for the youth, because like sometimes they may be lost and sometimes they may not have that parent that they can depend on, but they can come to a Notori, a Mo, a Summer, and really feel like at peace because like you guys take time and listen and pray for them and be a listening ear if they need. And so I want to thank Pastor Tony Smith and Victorious Ministries and everybody for allowing us to be a part of this segment today. For all of you guys tuning in who may be discouraged or may not have people in the church that they can come to, I would like for you guys to listen to the scripture, 1 Peter 5:7. It says, cast all your cares upon the Lord, for he cares for you. All your anxieties, all your depression, everything, just cast it to him and he cares for you. Thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.